think that most people who are taught the game initially come in and are taught the X step to get your body turned and your hips perpendicular to where you're going to throw, so you can open your body up. But we're going to quickly go over that. There's a couple different types of what we call the X step, and what I've seen most people who are power throwers use is more of like a hop step. It's not really an X step. To me, when I think X step, I think 1, 2, 3, and you're really crossing your legs. We don't really do that in real time. What it looks more like in real time is I'm getting that foot up in the air, and before this even falls to the ground, before this is even on the ground, this foot's coming back. And before this foot's even touching the ground here, this foot's already on its way forward. So it's kind of like I'm hopping, but the point of it, just like an X step, is to get your body turned so that you can reach back and then proceed to pull the disc across your chest. In real time, if I were to throw, I'm not going to.
Watch where his feet are going to intersect from right here. You'll see the X, but his feet won't be on the ground at the same time. Fast motion.
If I were to throw this way, it would start off like this.
So he was up in the air for that X?
My legs, almost, they touch a little bit, but it's basically just to get this leg back here so that it allows me to really step far forward on this last step.
And the difference is about fluidity. So like if you're somebody who's never X-stepped before, you want to start out learning it the way he's talking about, so that he thinks about it as like a plodding, like okay, making sure I'm in the right place, make sure my positioning, my mechanics are okay. If you're someone who's at that step, then you want to start learning to speed it up with that hop step, get your base speed of everything you're doing up, and get the fluidity of all your motion up. So it isn't so much like step 1, step 2, step 3, and you're kind of going through it like that. That'll teach you to set up in the right way, but to really get powerful, you have to have that smoothness that they're talking about with the hop step.
Good thing about timing too. It's all got to be in sync, on time.
And he says hop, but he doesn't mean hop.
Yeah.
Like,
Not
he means
we're not
glide.
jumping for hop.
Like,
Yeah.
it's a forward
Slowly
motion.
moving across the ground,
Yeah,
but
he's like
athletically
gliding, like
balanced
hover.
and ready to get in that last position where that foot touches the ground, or where that heel touches the ground.
First toe, then
That toe touches the ground.
Yeah.
It transfers to the heel.
Yeah.
And I bring all my weight from back here off my left foot to right up here, upwards through my body.
And I think
and lastly through my swing.
Though you'll hear at these clinics a lot, you hear a lot about that toe, heel, toe transfer. And that's a real split-second thing, and it's hard to sort of think about. But the thing that I sort of think about it is that if you're doing, the most important part of the X-step, the whole reason we're doing it is to engage the big muscles and the legs and the butt into the frisbee. So the most important part of it when you come out of it is to have that foot at least sideways or maybe even turned backwards a little bit. Not to come out with a pointed toe, because then you've lost your hips. If my toes pointed, I have nowhere to go with my hips. This little subtle change, and now I have something from my hips, and that's where distance comes from. So
with his foot being here, he's closing off, and he's allowing this tension to be generated right here.
Yeah.
When it's opened up, it's all arm, and it's a lot of strain.
And then you're doing the X step just because someone told you to, but you're not actually doing the X step.
I just wanted to say also the whole reason, again, this is a distance driving clinic, is getting these discs out there with just your arm, kind of like Big Germ said, is really tough. It's strenuous. It's not good for your shoulder, your arm. Use your whole body to throw the discs. So when you're watching them drive these out there, watch from the ground up, because our throw actually essentially is more like a coil or like a gun. I like to think of my arm as a gun. You guys want to think about that? Okay, well you have to cock this whole gun. you have to cock the whole gun from the ground up. And your central unit of gravity being your most powerful, all these muscles, this whole thing has to cock back, knees to hips to elbow to wrist to shoulder, and this is how you're going to get all this distance. You can never do it with just your arm. It's a whole body motion, ground up, cock the gun, let it go. So really focus on one motion together as your body as you're watching them.
So we're out here to not teach the mechanics of a backhand, but we got to basically cover that. We're out here to throw some big shots. You know, that's the point. You know, we can do a normal backhand clinic anytime, but this is a unique opportunity. Garrett's one of the few people in the world thrown over 800 feet, so you guys have a really nice opportunity to see him throw. And you know, I'm 6'6". I've got long arms. I have a 6'8" wingspan. That's a positive, what they call a gorilla index. That gives me a lot more torque to throw, okay? I've got a lot of tools at my advantage to throw distance. Garrett wasn't born with those same tools, yet his form is so sound that he shoots from down here and up, and it's so quick that, you know, it's truly a unique throw, and it proves that anybody at any size can get great distances. So, you know, the standstill stuff we can work on one-on-one. But
Yeah. And last thing on the run-up, one way to tell whether you actually are engaging your lower body is if you have trouble with T-pads occasionally. If not every T-pad is okay, then you probably are using your lower body. If every T-pad is fine to you, then you're probably not using your lower body. Because most T-pads have some nuances about them that we get very annoyed about, that, you know, if you're not using your whole lower body to throw with, then you don't notice that those T-pads aren't any good. So if you're not comfortable on some T-pads, that'll tell you you're using it. If you are comfortable, then definitely focus on engaging your butt and your legs and your lower body more.
Throw with your body.
the last thing I want to talk about before we get into more of showing you guys what it looks like in real time is the swing or the hit, and that's after you got the grip right, you got your footwork right, and now you're ready to release the disc. What we try to do is get this disc as far back as we comfortably can reach. I'm not trying to really lean back, but as I'm setting up, this disc goes back to its farthest point, and this outer edge of the disc, you really want to make sure it's as far away from your body as possible. And then as we're starting to pull, the elbow comes first, and we bring the disc right across our chest, almost like a straight line, so we can uncoil out here and just snaps off.
And for me, I don't know if these guys feel this way, but for me, when I'm throwing far, for me, not far for them, but when I'm getting some good throws, I feel like that hit point is as small and as explosive as it can possibly be. When I feel like I'm throwing the best, it's when the real effort of the throw is condensed down into the smallest number of milliseconds.
You know, because we're throwing distance doesn't mean that I'm running in and I'm just going to swing my body.
Yeah.
You know, it's really important that just like in a golf swing, you know, you reach back slow and then you accelerate through. Same way as in golf. When you set your throw up, you want to get your feet ready, and then there's that quick moment of explosiveness where you get everything into that shot. But then everything else is smooth, like Nate said.
I think throwing far in a tournament round or when you're playing disc golf comes down to just that, focusing on that explosion. Because just last weekend, I get sucked into this trap all the time. Playing a long hole, and I get way back there, I'm like, I'm going to crush this. I'm going to run into it and crush it. It never works. It always goes worse for me. If I try to run faster or reach back farther than I usually do.
Let's check out what these throws look like. Remember, for
Watch
yourself, focus on different points of their body each time you watch them release. Don't just watch where the disc goes. Watch from the ground up what their hips, knees, hips, chest, upper body is doing. Because that's what you're ultimately going to want to mimic when you're trying to get your max distance, is the body.
Watch their form. Watch their form.
So before I get out to start ripping shots, though, it's really important that you stretch out always. Anytime you play disc golf, you want to be out there stretching. And also, I don't want to get out there and just start throwing my biggest shots. So what I'll do is I'll come out to either the range or the course, and I'll just throw a couple punter shots. Just to get the body, just to get that motion down, and you really start to engage your muscles. So that way you're not out there straining.
Always throw hyzers. For my distance, it's always hyzer to flip. But like he says, how he talks about a difference between a distance contest and golf course. No one taught me that yet. I only know one way. So he needs to teach me how to go to that next level for a distance contest. I only know how to throw one way, and I use it on the golf course and in distance contests, which I always lose.